So today we're going to tackle one of the most powerful and, let's be honest, one of the most mind-bending ideas in all of political philosophy. It's Jean-Jacques Rousseau's concept of the general will. Now, this is an idea that promises we can all be completely free, but only if we all follow the exact same law. Sounds like a total contradiction, doesn't it? Well, for Rousseau, figuring this out all starts with a pretty powerful observation he made about the world around him.
Everything really kicks off with this legendary line from Rousseau's masterpiece, The Social Contract. He looked around and saw a world where people were supposed to be naturally free, but instead they were trapped by the very societies that were meant to be protecting them. And this wasn't just some casual complaint, you know? For Rousseau, this was the fundamental problem of modern life, and he was absolutely determined to solve it.
So that's the big question, right? How can you live in a society, follow all its rules, and not lose that essential freedom you were born with? I mean, how can you have authority and liberty at the same time? How do you possibly square that circle? Well, for Rousseau, the answer was a completely radical, new kind of social contract.
Rousseau's big solution is this revolutionary agreement he calls the social contract. And look, this isn't a contract you make with a king or some government body. Nope, it's a contract that we all make with each other. And at its heart, it's a trade. We give something up, but what we get in return, Rousseau says, is something way, way more valuable: true freedom.
Okay, here's the absolute key. Each and every person agrees to give up their own individual natural rights, but not to some guy in a crown. Instead, everyone gives their rights over to the entire community. And by doing this, we all merge together to form one single collective thing, what he calls the state. Now, to really wrap your head around this, you've got to understand a bit of Rousseau's psychology. He believed that inside every single one of us, there's this constant battle going on between two totally different kinds of will. And believe me, understanding this internal tug of war is the key to unlocking his entire philosophy. So, Rousseau basically splits our desires into two. On one side, you've got the actual will. Just think of this as your immediate, gut-level, selfish impulse. You know, the part of you that wants that extra slice of pizza or feels the urge to cut in line. But then there's your real will. This is your higher self, the rational part of you that takes a step back and asks, okay, but what's really best for everyone, myself included, in the long run? So what happens when you take that rational, selfless, real will from every single person in the community and you combine them all? Boom, you get the general will. Now, this isn't just some messy compromise between everybody's selfish wants. No, it's supposed to be the pure, collective voice of what's best for everyone, almost like a common consciousness that only, and always, aims for the common good. Now, Rousseau was super clear about this. For the general will to actually be legit, it had to follow 5, let's call them, unbreakable rules. And these aren't just suggestions, they are the very DNA that gives the general will its absolute authority. All right, let's break these down. First, it's sovereign. That means it's the highest, ultimate power in the state, period. Nothing is above it. Second, it's inalienable and indivisible, which is a fancy way of saying the people can never give away or split up their collective power. You can't just hand it off. Third, it's unrepresentable. Rousseau was huge on this. He believed people had to express the general will themselves, directly, not by electing politicians to do it for them. And finally, and this is the one that gets everybody, he argued it's infallible. Yeah, he believed that since it comes from everyone's best, rational selves, it literally cannot be wrong. And this is where we get to the most famous and, frankly, the most chilling part of this entire theory. What happens if one person, just following their selfish, actual will, decides to disobey the general will? Well, Rousseau has a very, very direct answer for that. This brings us to the ultimate paradox. If you, in the grip of your own selfish impulses, refuse to follow the general will, the community can force you to. But for Rousseau, this isn't tyranny. He sees it as forcing you to listen to your own better self, your real will. In a way, they're liberating you from the prison of your own worst impulses. You are, in his unforgettable words, being forced to be free. So as you can probably imagine, this idea has been fiercely debated for centuries. So which is it? Is the general will the ultimate expression of democracy and people power, or is it just a philosophical blank check for total state control?
I mean, you can see the appeal, right? At its best, this is a powerful argument for popular sovereignty.
The radical idea that power truly belongs to the people, not some king. It puts the common good first and gives us a real moral reason to obey the law, because the law is supposed to be an expression of our own best selves. It's a champion for direct democracy.
But whoa, the criticisms are just as powerful. First off, what even is the common interest? It's so vague, and critics point out that any dictator could just claim they represent it. And that phrase, forced to be free, it sounds like something straight out of a dystopian novel. Not to mention, how could a system like this possibly work in a huge, diverse modern country? It just seems completely impractical.
And that leaves us right here with this massive question. Was Rousseau a visionary who designed the perfect blueprint for freedom and community, or did his desire for unity accidentally create a recipe for the very tyranny he wanted to destroy? It's a debate that's still so relevant because we grapple with it in our own societies all the time. Where exactly is that line between the common good and our individual liberty?